everybody. It's the week in Wargaming for November 20th, 2022. And we are hitting off right now for some Q&A session and a recap of what has been going on in Wargaming this week. So plenty to talk about in Wargaming. We had a bunch of new exciting stuff start to get sort of like revealed for the Lord of the Rings Battle of Osgiliath. I've been planning out a whole series of fun new things for this classic GW game. Quite frankly, I think their best game ever. Like, there's certainly more popular games. There's certainly games that have been sort of like more notorious, but I would say if you're talking about just the success of, like, we wrote a rule set in 2001, and that rule set is effectively the same 21 years later. The Middle Earth Strategy Battle game is right up there as possibly their most successful miniature war game from like a rules and drift kind of point of view. It's almost their battle tech, right? It's just been around forever. People are really happy with it, super balanced. And I think because they have to paint inside the lines a little bit with like the background, and there's a clear like love and reverence for the source material, it's been done just super duper well. So one of my favorite games, getting back into it, the new two-player starter set you saw this weekend. Yesterday, of course, I started off a how to play series for it. And I have so many armies. I have like an Isengard army. I have a giant Moria army and Erebor army. I never really painted the armies from The Hobbit because it wasn't really my favorite period. I painted some of like the first War of the Ring and the Lord of the Rings stuff for the most part because it's kind of like my favorite. Those original movies are my favorite movies. But I want to start new. I didn't do them before armies, and doing Mordor and doing Minas Tirith, obviously, and Gondor is perfect because I didn't have those armies originally in the game. So I've got those out of the box, and I'm going to do some like painting vlogs. You guys ask a lot for like painting videos and how-to videos and just like more snippets into like the process of doing things. And this seemed like a good example or a good time to do something like that. And I have kind of like a production lull right now where I have some time to work on things. So I wanted to be able to like kind of enjoy it, not just paint the whole box at once. I did the terrain, but I've got some extra terrain. I'll show you guys how I painted. I'll do the step-by-steps for like the orcs and the Gondorians and the rangers. And then I'll do some like features on the characters and stuff like that. Just kind of enjoy the process. Just slow down. And that's the nice thing about Lord of the Rings is you don't have to, or Middle Earth Strategy Battle game, you don't have to keep up with like the newness and the releases because they're not going to really make any new army. Like there's not going to all of a sudden be like a brand new army that comes out, right? There's not going to be like a new codex or codex creep. You can just kind of pick like a project and really slowly sort of methodically dig into it and enjoy the process. So I got the initial sort of like chunk of it so I could do the first how-to video done. I stayed up late. We were watching movies and building terrain, salmon over the weekend, and did a bunch of like sort of like quick rattle can double paint methods just to figure out how I was going to do it, and then I'll share that with you guys with some like step by steps. And I think I'll do like just like if I film it once, like if I do like step by step pictures for like the paint guides for the models, and then I'll do a video on the terrain. I can turn those pictures into like shorts and stuff like that and reels too for Facebook and for YouTube. And that actually I think makes it more digestible. And then it just like cuts to the chase. It's not me doing a lot of talking. It's just here's the pictures and the steps and what you would do. And I'm gonna try and make it generic enough you could do it with any paint. So I'm not gonna like pick a paint line really. I'm gonna just say dark brown spray paint or like, you know, like gray spray paint, light spray paint. Like I'll show you what I used, but for like painting and stuff like that, I don't want someone to have to go out and buy specific paints. I'm just going to say dark brown, light brown, gunmetal, silver, you know what I mean? Like black wash, whatever you want to do that's similar in what you have is usually the easiest way to do it. So that was a big part of last week. I also did the book review you'll see next Saturday for Regicide for Forbidden Psalm, as well as started filming the first of the 12-game campaign for that, which was super fun. I got to play some Bot War with Chase, and Darkstone, which is really cool. And then Jordan and I recorded some more Brawl Machine, some lunch machine. He's coming on his lunch hour because Jordan works just like 2 minutes from the studio. So we've started just having like a lunch hour game thing, which we do. And Brawl Machine's like the perfect scale for it too. So we've been getting the stuff together to just continue that and kind of like just do a game every week and maybe do some new like little 25-point armies, because he just bought some Crick stuff and he really wants to paint like a battle group of that. It's nice. It's like digestible painting, so as like a side project. And it's funny, he's kind of found the joy of like that thing I always talk about where it's like doing a thing just for him, right? He loves all the old Cricks miniatures, and so he's collected a bunch of them even though they're out of production, even though the Mark III's gone and done. And this kind of gives us a reason to like paint these little like collections of miniatures and put them on the table and play some games. So I'm going to jump into the chat. So we are 6 minutes in, and I'm just going to say hi to everybody and answer some questions. Someone says, so Frozen Beard asked. So yeah, this is Snowday edition. We got about a foot of snow in the last 24 hours here. I managed to, my kids and I went Friday night to go take my mom out for dinner. It was her birthday this week. And we zipped down after school for the weekend, took her out for dinner, and then got in the car Saturday morning. And just as we were getting back into town, it was about an hour and a half, 2 hours away to go to my parents' place. It had started to snow like really heavily, and then it didn't stop snowing until like midnight last night. Like it literally snowed like an entire foot. As our first major snowfall of the year, it doesn't really pull any punches. It goes right for the throat, but it does mean that when this live show's over, I'm putting my snow pants on. My kids are putting the snow pants on. We're gonna go outside and go screw around in the snow and have our first like fun snow day time. My beard's short enough. I don't really get the frozen beard. I get the mustache freezing is all I really get from breathing in and out. What else we got? Chris says, good morning from Central America. Good morning, Chris. Rob Marizita says, go Moria Goblins. Yeah, I've painted a lot of Moria Goblins in my time. A lot of demo figures. When we did the first whatchamacallit, Lord of the Rings starter set in 2001, it had Moria Goblins and War of the Ring elves, and we painted a ton of those. And then we all painted Weathertop because it was a better demo to actually reflect like the movie. Because like the Moria Goblins were in the movie, and the first War of the first War of the Ring like elves are in the movie for like the first 15 minutes basically, and then they're not in it anymore. So the battle at Weathertop made a better demo for Lord of the Rings back then. That was a fun demo actually, because I think all the stores in Canada got a resin Forge World Weathertop piece, and so we painted the attack at Weathertop like Aragorn and the Four Hobbits and the Ring Wraiths, and that was a much more like iconic demo. It was a lot more fun to give too, because you would basically just play. I think it was like you had to keep a Hobbit alive. If you kept one Hobbit alive, or you kept Frodo alive, I think for like 6 turns or whatever it was, then you win. All the Ring Wraiths had to do was 5 Ring Wraiths had to go kill. You had Aragorn, and 5 Ring Wraiths had to try and kill like Frodo before you got through it. It was a really good demo because it was always like down to the last dice roll. Harry says, morning, Ash. Chris says, I would welcome some how-to videos. I'm looking forward to those. Yeah, it's funny. Sam keeps telling me to make more like of these like behind-the-scenes things. When we were at HowlCon, a bunch of people said that their favorite videos were the on the paint table videos. Some of their favorite content is on the paint table, and I was like, really? And I don't know, maybe it's because it's it's so easy to make. It's literally just me going, what did I do this week? Put it on the table, talk about it for 10 minutes. It doesn't feel like it has a lot of value to me, because like you put so much more effort into other things that get like not no views, but like I put way more effort into doing like an indie game video, and it gets like 1,000 to 2,000 views, and you're like, it's so much work to get that much effort. But then I film for 10 minutes, and on the paint table we'll get like 3,000 views in a day. And it's a weird feeling that people really enjoy that content, and it kind of started to sink in when they were talking about it. Like, no, it's part of like how the sausage is made thing. It's the reason why people like watching those like how it's made videos. They like watching things like Mythbusters, right? Like the process is almost as fascinating as the result, and my brain always goes, is the result good? Not how much fun is it to watch the process. And I'm starting to realize you guys like watching the process of getting to the result as much as you like watching the finished product. And it's hard for me to feel like the mess that I make is actually worth watching for you guys, but I guess it is. So I'm going to try and do more of those and accept the fact that sometimes watching me dry brush a orc is actually something that you guys want. Even though it feels like because there's less effort behind it, it's not as valuable, but people really enjoy it, and I need to listen to smarter people than me. Jasper says, I don't have money to also buy Lord of the Rings with so many cool releases for 40k, AOS, Kill Team, Warcry, Necromunda. Yeah, it's true. It's just funny that like the feeling is so different behind it. And to be fair, like a War of the Ring, Lord of the Rings army is so much cheaper than any of those other games. Like the 24-man or one-frame 12-man sprues of like Warriors of Gondor or Elves or whatever are like most of an army. Pepper in a couple heroes and like for like $150-200. I mean, the same can be said for Kill Team actually, and maybe even Necromunda. But it's in that scale, right? So it's not like you can't side project it or do it as like a project in between games. And literally the rules haven't changed in 15 years. We're like for the most part. The Hobbit was the biggest rule change when they introduced weapons for like different hand weapon types, like picks and swords and axes and hammers have like slightly variations on rules and stuff. So it's, well, I understand everybody's budget. It is one of those games where you really don't need to be put off by the price because it's a fairly skirmishy game. Catharsis Chaser says they need to remake the old Haldyr's Elves. Some of the best sculpts you'd ever made. The new plastic ones look goofy. They just did a made to order, because I got an email from them yesterday, I think, saying that there was another made to order for Lord of the Rings, so they might be on there. They come up every now and again, so like that's the nice thing is the Haldyr's Elves are absolutely some of the nicest like elf ranger miniatures I think GW ever made, and they might be on that list right now. I haven't looked, but I know that they come up in cycle, basically. All those casts come back around. Shane B says, a week out from summer here in Australia, in Melbourne, sitting through hurricane winds and hailstorms. Oh, no. Oh, careful in Melbourne. I'm sorry. I have a cousin in Melbourne, actually, so I hope he's okay. Stevie, I hope you're locked down and safe. Kurt Erickson says, hey, we'll be getting bat reps for Xenos Rampant. I hope so. I'd love to do a project on it. I'll need to find an opponent, but Bob might be interested in doing it because he really liked doing OPR, and Xenos Rampant's kind of the same idea, and he already basically has armies with his OPR armies. I know Jay'd probably be into it too when Jay has time to come back in. So, I mean, definitely, remember, it's never a desire to play a game. I will literally play anything with anyone. It all comes down to, do I have an opponent? Are they excited about it? I don't force people to play games with me. And I will literally play anything with anybody. So it's sort of like the amount of enthusiasm behind somebody coming in, or like the speed with which someone comes in is usually the one deciding factor. Harry says, what? Did somebody say I have time? MMCD333 says, hey, Ash, I was wondering if we'll see any Sludge games anytime soon. It's an excellent game. Absolutely. Chase and I have been playing Infinity, and we're about to play some Steel Rift and Sludge. And he really wants to try out OPR as well. So it all comes down to the fact that we get to game once a month usually. So what do we fit into that? And this weekend coming up, we're actually going to be playing some Infinity and some Steel Rift. So yes, you will. When? I don't know. Because if I have a person who's excited about it once a month, then I have to fit it into the schedule and the rotation. What else we got? Michael R says that middle of the strategy battle game did not bode well for the humans. No, but it was accurate to the film, which I thought was funny when the orcs come across the boat and just murder all the sentries, which was pretty much what happens when Gothmog sends his orcs across the Anduin. But next game will be the Revenge of the Rangers. The Rangers will come in, and we'll see if Damrod can stem the tide. Jasper, is it normal to have hurricane winds and hailstorms? Probably not. And then Harry says, looking forward to seeing the videos and the how-to. I'm excited to make them. I mean, it's going to be a mess because I don't really know what I'm doing. But once I make the first one, I'm going to do then the orcs for the first one. Once I make that, I'll have my workflow down, and I'll figure out what's going to make them look good and how they're going to get made. Owen Yates says, with Marvel Snap making such a huge splash in the digital game card market, do you think a simplified wargame style game could succeed on mobile? I literally played one this morning with my son, and I just got an email about it. From the company, actually. that makes it. And the only reason I actually opened that email, because I get a lot of like what I assume is just garbage emails about video games, and a lot of offers of like cooperation. I get a ton of like, since that crypto market went exploded too, I have like a million crypto wallet emails of people that want me to promote their crypto wallets as well. So it's really hard to sift through all that crap. But I got one for combat cards, for Citadel combat cards. And I just played a bunch of games of it with Cash. Like, he and I he's eating Cheerios at the sort of like the kitchen island. And we played a bunch of the combat card games. And it was pretty fun. It's a stupid collectible card. I mean, it's all pay to play, free to play. So like you can grind out the free cards or you can pay to play it. But I enjoyed it because I played combat cards as a kid. It's the new version of combat cards where there's like 3 stats. There's like shooting, melee, and psychic stat. And then you have like a hit point pool and you line up 3 and they duel. You have to pick what kind of damage you want to do. But I should actually pick up the new actual physical combat cards, and that's how it works, because I think Cash would really like it. Sneering Brit. That might actually be my favorite name on here so far. Sneering Brit. It's going better now that I read your internet name, because that made me really happy. Nick Nickleby says, good morning from New Mexico. We got some snow here too. 3 inches and it was gone by noon. Well, you're in New Mexico, so that makes sense. You have to be in the mountains to keep your snow. And there's Chase. Chase says, good morning. Chase is here. So Chase, we're playing Steel Rift and Infinity. I know I got your message asking what scenarios we're going to play, and I haven't answered it yet. So I'm going to say we'll play 200. You're watching. So we'll play 200 tons for Steel Rift. And then for Infinity, I don't know yet. You guys tell me in the chat what missions we should play. Pick 2 missions for Infinity. 2 missions you don't see played enough, and we'll do it. And yeah, we'll figure it out. Brian Sheen says, we've been playing Kill Sample Process for Last War. Last War shipping, I think, relatively soon from Exalted Funeral, so I should have my copy. I didn't want to play either games until I had physical books, because for Kev, I want to be able to show the book off too. And then it, like, everyone knows it's coming. I've shared a lot about it. But when it comes down to like actually helping Kev out sell more books once they're released, like the crowdfund's done, I want to be able to show people the physical product that he's made. You know what I mean? So I tend not to do the battle reports and stuff until after I've done the book review, because for indie producers, like the most excited anyone is really going to be about an indie product is the first time they see it. And I want to do the best job I can helping someone like Kev out sell more books. And so that means that I don't want to do a whole bunch of promotion when you can't actually go add to cart, buy. You know what I mean? Because you don't come back to it. Like, I'm just going to cover some other game in 6 weeks, and then everyone's going to forget about it. Like, you know, you get like 1% of people that'll actually check it out and get the book in their hands. So, yes, the answer, the short answer long is, of course, yes, I will be covering it. I want to wait until I have the book in my hand so I can do a book review, and then it can all go back and Kev can get the most sort of like promo he can out of that. Gary Arkham says, hey, have you seen the new Goblin Wolf Riders or Beast Riders heroes? Is it me, or is GW releasing units that can also be used for Old World in the future? Maybe. That's an interesting theory. They do definitely have like an old school Goblin Wolf Rider look to them. All of the Moon Clan Grots are just Night Goblins, so they could easily be crossed back over too. I mean, they all came from the old world. There's no reason they couldn't go back to the old world. Although to be fair to those sculpts, they are basically aesthetically matching the ones from Warhammer Underworlds, because there was a warband of 3 Goblin Wolf Riders in Underworlds that are almost identical aesthetically speaking to that. Hydra66 says, on the paint table inspires us to keep going with the hobby aspect of the game. Yeah, that was exactly what Chet said, and Andrew said, and a bunch of other people said, and then Sam said, see? Which makes sense, because, like, I have a hard time, I think I have a hard time rationalizing when something isn't hard to do, that it has value, and so, yes, I'm accepting now that watching how it gets done. Like, I should know better too. Like, I should definitely know better, because my kids watch a million like Joshua Wiseman how to cook videos and like how to draw videos, you know, like Kids Art Hub and stuff like that. And so seeing how it's done being like a fascination and then what people are interested in, I'm putting my own bias onto what I make sometimes, and hearing that out loud and, you know, understanding that, yeah, just because it's not what you're interested in watching because you do it yourself doesn't mean other people are interested in watching it. I need to like suck it up and make better content for you guys. Fenreen says, my favorite content's your narrative stuff like Rangers and Frostgrave and Mordheim. Well, I agree, and it's some of my favorite to make too, which is why I'm jumping into Regicide for Forbidden Psalm. Wait till you see the names. Oh my god. So I used the new In the Footsteps of the Mad Wizard name table for naming the warband this time, because I create the whole warband on camera with the book review for Regicide, and the names for this warband are they're ridiculous, but they're amazing. Andrew Crick says, I'm finding the Arcs of Omen boarding actions really heightens my interest in playing. It seems like a step between Kill Team and Full Scale 40k. For sure. And I mean, it's a Zone Mortalis table that it won't break the bank. You know what I mean? The way the Necromunda one or the Forge World one will. So I think it's going to be exciting. People are very hyped for Arcs of Omen. It's true. Ryan Dunphy says, I ended up switching a lot of games to 15 mil just because I'm running out of space for everything else. And I'm looking for a house over 6 months. Yeah, I mean, that is definitely a way of doing it. There's a reason why Battletech players can own giant Battletech collections, right? You don't need that many giant models to actually play a game. And then Steering Brit Captain Ferret says, getting into Middle-earth strategy battle game for the first time. I've just been ignoring it since it first came out. I think a lot of people did. And also a lot of people, when you're doing a licensed product, everybody has their own favorite corner of it. So when it first came out, there was always a lot of, I'll play it when I can play Durin's Folk. I'll play it when I can play an army of hobbits. I'll play it when it was always here's my favorite corner of, I'll play it when I can play Treebeard and his Ents, and they make a plastic Ent kit. And all of those objections basically are gone now because they've literally explored almost everything you can imagine in the Lord of the Rings and Middle Earth sort of like timeline. The third age timeline. And so like there's almost like a embarrassment of miniatures that you can get your hands on, and you can make what you want. So ignoring it for a while is almost a good thing, because now you just got this bounty of like options for what you want to do. And then speaking of Lord of the Rings, Steering Brit says, speaking of Lord of the Rings, what's your favorite faction? So kind of, it's hard to say. Probably, I never did them, but probably Rohan. Just because I love the idea that they're this like mashed in between all of the warring opposing factions faction, and they just have like a tragic story, and I love the sort of like tragic end for kind of all the heroes involved. I think it's the reason why Two Towers is my favorite film from all of the films they've done for the Lord of the Rings. It easily holds up as the best. For a bunch of reasons, because it has, like, narratively, it has a really good story arc, right? You have Aragorn, you know, lost basically for part of it. And the siege is like, there's a start, a middle, and an end to the story, right? You get a kind of a satisfying payoff. Whereas Fellowship, of course, the descent into Moria and the battle with the Balrog and losing Gandalf is tragic, but you don't feel like a sense of conclusion at the end of it, right? Everyone's like off to do their own thing. Merry and Pippin are kidnapped. Frodo and Sam take off on their own. Boromir, you know, has his incredible finale with the Uruk-hai. And Aragorn has probably the greatest one-man fight scene against an army fight scene ever, where you watch him walk out and he puts the sword up to his head, and there's just like a sea of Uruk-hai between him and that, and he just carves directly through them. Those movies have great moments. Same with like the Return of the King. There's great moments in Return of the King, but there isn't like it doesn't feel satisfying all the way through, whereas the Two Towers just feel satisfying all the way through. So I love Rohan. I love their story. I love Theoden's transformation through the story. I love Eowyn's transformation through the story. Actually, even Aragorn has like a bunch of transformations to the story, so probably the Rohirrim, and just they're the setting basically for my favorite Lord of the Rings film. And so vice versa, also Isengard. And I have a massive Isengard army, mostly because I love the industrialized evil of Isengard, right? Where it's all very conscious and by design, and Saruman's turned, and so he's doing it all very like willingly and thinking it all through. So yeah, good guy faction Rohan, bad guy faction Isengard, because it's my favorite film of the group. David Quinn says, afternoon Ash, greetings from Ireland, greetings. And then Chase says, I'll need to dust off my Lord of the Rings orcs. I love playing that game when it came out. Well, there we go. So Chase and I now have like a 9th game on our list of games we need to play together. That's the problem with Chase. Chase has almost an identical wargaming philosophy to mine, where he's just like, sure, like whatever it is, sure. And so the problem is we get each other excited about things immediately, and then only have like an 8-hour block once a month to actually play games. So if Chase and I could just play, just quit your job, Chase. Just come play me every week. It'll be way easier. People want to see us play. Go for it. Pank says, hello. Grey Chief says, hello from the Philippines. Jeff Hoffman says, working on an all Gravis Space Wolves army to play Arcs of Omen. It'll probably play terrible, but look awesome. I agree. Yeah, all Gravis, so heavy intercessors. For those that don't know, that's a Space Marine armor type where... So the Mark 10 power armor that the big E-sized Space Marines wear is like this modular armor, and you can basically take parts off and put onto it. So when you maximize the armor plating on the Mark 10, you become Gravis armor, which is like a super heavy armor type. And there's a troop choice called Heavy Intercessors that can wear it. And then there's also like Aggressors, who are sort of almost like a close range Terminator-y sort of thing. And Eradicators, who are the close range tank hunters and stuff too. I would look badass if you did that. I would play against it. The only problem would be there's only like one Gravis hero, which is the captain, I'm pretty sure, because everybody else is just wearing regular armor. But I guess you could just kind of like cheat and say they're wearing Gravis armor. There's not a huge difference really game wise. Alexander Mullally says, working on my Steel Rift Force this morning. Sweet. And then Captain Ferrite says, if I lived close to Ash, I would make him play a new game every week. Well, lots of people do that. RD Tabletop Studio says, hello. Perfect. Oh, geez, I went down too far. Started to work on my Kings of War Northern Alliance. Now I can listen to the stream. All the best from Austria. Fantastic. I need to pay those ogres. And John Ashley Smith says, g'day, Guerrilla Miniature Games, up from the QEW in Borrington, which is Burlington. No Name Games also says, hey Ash, just curious, do you have any making the sausage content for Last Days or Steel Rift? Really curious about your design process. There's a bunch of stuff for both, actually. There's like author's notes videos for Last Days on my YouTube channel, and Steel Rift has the whole like playtest process, actually. I did a bunch of stuff. And then Chase says, okay, you twisted my rubber. I'm going to play Sludge next time I'm in after this weekend. Such a fun game. Simon says, make paint play. Hello from North Essex. that wasn't a tongue twister until you wrote North instead of North, and I tried to actually pronounce it. If I just said North Essex, I think I would have been fine. Robert Fennelson says 20 by 20 missions for N4. Yeah, those are cool. I haven't played 20 by 20 since N2, I think. N2 or N3. We played 20 by 20 back, like right at the very beginning of like Radio Free Neoterra. Yeah, like way back at the beginning. We played some 20 by 20. I haven't even thought about 20 by 20 in a while. Jez Hunt says, looking forward to grabbing that book. Ultraman says, good morning, Ash. Glad to see you're well, and much love to you. You too. Eli Jenkins says, hey Ash, just wanted to say thanks. You helped teach my cousin and I to play Warhammer when we were teens. I was a very shy kid and I'm grateful for your kindness. Love Forbidden Psalms. That's amazing, Eli. I know you don't have to say, but yeah, if you even can just say the store, what store that was in, that's amazing. Robert Fannelson says, I miss War of the Ring. Yeah, me too. I played it recently with Owen. We played like a teeny tiny bit as like a throwback Thursday. And it's one of those like lost GW games that was fantastic. Great Chief says, hey Ash, I'm excited for Star Wars Shatterpoint. Me too. I'll be honest, like, I really enjoyed playing Star Wars Legion. The problems I had with Legion are the same problems I have with a lot of the Fantasy Flight games, where there's just so much crap on the table. I don't know, all the tokens, and I get there's tokens and stuff on like a Marvel table too, but I keep them on the cards. Like there's far less like clutter kind of, and there's still almost too much in Marvel Crisis Protocol for me too. I try and keep it as down as I can, but the like this there was just it was at a weird scale versus stuff point. I think if there was less units to keep track of at that level of tokeniness, I probably would feel like it was less intrusive. But because every unit has a card and their tokens and it adds a token to the activation pile, and then those tokens go down the table face up or face down. Like the bigger the game got, the more that bothered me. I didn't mind the 500 point games of Legion, but the game didn't play as smoothly at 500 points too because there's some really powerful units. So yeah, I don't know. I'm excited for Shatterpoint because I feel like it just hits a sweet spot for me where I like, if I paint one more model, it's like infinity. It has like a drastic sort of like impact on game design, and I get a new experience out of it, and I kind of want to dive in and do that. I'm excited for that too. Ultramenta says, I know what you mean, Ash. I'm the guy locally for Kill Team, and I've heard like 5 people say I'll play Kill Team once vote 10 gets one. Right? When someone says that, they actually just mean I'm not going to play Kill Team. Anyone who says and it's funny because I used to say this to all my friends who ran retail stores, and I used to say it in retail. If someone says I would buy X if you had it, what they're just saying is I'm not going to buy anything. Like, they don't actually mean it. And anyone who said that out loud, it's just an excuse for you to stand around the store, and it's a way of saying, yes, please still talk to me. And I will definitely I will make it worth your time when you come back. It's kind of like it's a way of like kind of softballing that you're sort of wasting their time and you want to make them feel better about it, even if you don't mean it. There's no harm in it. It's not intentionally malicious or anything like that, but it's just you trying to say like, yeah, you're doing a good job of explaining this to me and I feel good about our conversation, but I'm definitely not going to do this, and I'm going to give you a softball reason instead of just telling you I'm definitely not going to do this. And I'm sure there's corner cases where that's not the case, but in my experience, the guy that says, oh, I would totally buy some paint or something if you just had this one color, but you've only got 3 of the 4 colors I want, and I just want to buy all my stuff all at once, and it's like, I could like feel my brain short circuiting when somebody says that to me. Grey Chief says, I'm surprised there's not tons of... Oh, God. When I start scrolling like a little bit, it like shoots the chat down because I'm way behind in the chat now. I'm surprised there isn't a Lord of the Rings skirmish game. I mean, it is a skirmish game. War of the Ring was the mass battle game. Ultrameta says, where's Ash reading the chat from? I'm actually on the actual video right now. I'm just watching. I checked the video right now to make sure there's subtitles because that means my mic is working and you guys can hear me. Jez Hunt says, everyone loves a bit fight in the rain. That's what that means. And Mark says, live chat even. Sweet. Steering Brit says, I wish there was a fantasy Lord of the Rings type game where you can retake a dwarf hold. Anyone could make that with a game with dwarves in it. RD Tabletop says, getting the Lord of the Rings game, bought the old 2-player server a month ago. Has anyone ever made a middle of the strategy battle game with solo mode? Seems like it would fit well with a swarm style tower defense the way it works. Yeah, you could definitely write some solo rules for it. No Name Game says, thanks, I'll check those out. Currently designing some of my own games and curious how other people do it. Yeah, we've got some good designer interviews too for Blaster if you want to check those out. And then Captain Fred says, Ash and Chase, you should play Sludge. You can also play Turnip 28. We sure can. And then Greg says, we need more Gamma Wolves, Ash. I know, I need more opponents. Again, Chase played Gamma Wolves with me. If I could just maybe I could clone a stable of hobbyists. This is when I miss Owen, because I miss having someone I play games with weekly, right? Owen was great because he would be game for anything too, and we would play every week. And of course now he's moved to Calgary because Michelle stole him from me, and I'm never gonna forgive her. Banshin says, greetings from Japan. When did I start streaming? I've been around since the initial GMG fundraiser, but I've been out of the loop recently. Back in September. I think this is number 5 or number 6. I'm trying to do a Saturday morning stream where I just do a live show and answer questions. This is just, I have an office all of a sudden. We've rearranged the house a whole bunch, and the sunroom that used to be my daughter's drawing room, because she's got that in her room now, is now my office. And so I have the ability to kind of permanently set up cameras and mics and things, and I'm getting that to try and be regular, even though I'm terrible at being regular at just about everything. Well Hung and Dunk says, are the new upcoming fighting on the Space Hulk rules a development of Zone Mortalis rules? Would that mean there's no new Space Hulk? I mean, that's kind of all kind of an assumption. Everyone kind of thought that the Kill Team was going to be Space Hulk, but it's not. It's just like a new kill zone for Kill Team. I think if they redo Space Hulk, they'll probably just redo Space Hulk. Unless it's called Space Hulk, don't count out Space Hulk. And don't count out Games Workshop bringing out the Nostalgia Bus to do a release, right? They just did Squats. So at some point, they're going to do Space Hulk again. I have no insider information, but I don't feel speaking out of turn to say that I give it my rock bottom guarantee that at some point Space Hulk in 2009 was the last time. In 2010, I think they reprinted it. So it's been 12 years since they printed a copy of Space Hulk. They will wheel that out at least one more time to get people excited. And there's never a time people aren't going to be excited about Space Marines fighting Gene Stealers. Joe Brightonbach says, hello from Delaware, USA. I bought the Pelennor Fields box yesterday. It's a really good box. Jim Crimmins says, good morning, Ash from the woods of New York State. My Steel Rift starter set showed up this week. Sweet. And you're painting your mechs racing. That's awesome. Robert Fanelson says a new 20x20 N4 for both N4 and Code 1. Very good. Sweet. Maybe I'll play Code 1 with it. Ooh, that would be fun to do with Mike. Mike's really enjoying Code 1. John Ashley Smith says, so many cool games and models in too little time. It's true. Jeff Hoffman says, I'm kind of hyped for the new objective markers for Infinity. Oh, they're way over there. I would get up, but I don't want to run away from the mic. I actually have the box. It just showed up, and I'm so pumped to paint them. I'm really excited to paint them. Jeff Hoffman says, I'm kind of hyped for the middle. Sorry, that's Gary Arkham says, Star Wars Legion is so overwhelming rules-wise. It's such a demanding game. Always having to keep up with the new version of the rules. And the new cards and stuff. Yeah, the fact that like I only played it for about maybe a quarter of its life cycle. I came in after the New Republic. The Republic, like clones versus the episode 1 starter set. Basically, I don't know what you'd call that, but or the episode 2, I guess it would be. It's the Attack of the Clones kind of thing. I came in after that starter set, and most of the cards from it were invalid, like halfway through. Like my Anakin cards were invalid, like all that stuff was invalid, and all my clones rules had changed, and I was like, it feels like a conveyor belt, a bit like 40k does of things changing. Great Chief says, I do play Kill Team. I'm still waiting for Votan to drop. I mean, everybody is. It's going to come. You know they'll do a 2-player starter set. I hope they do. What I'm waiting for rules for my squad prospectors in 40k. Like, I'm shocked they didn't get rules in the Codex. They should have, for sure. Nick Brand says, the worst is when someone picks your brain for like 20 minutes and then says they're going to check Amazon first. Oh, man. I can't even imagine. Yeah, I'm going to go look online. That's the worst. When that actually, okay, so I said earlier that there's like not any malicious intent. That's actually a fuck you to the person you're talking to. Like if you've ever done this, if you've stood in an independent gaming store, held a product in your hand, and I get that your money's your money. I totally understand that. Asked the business owner a bunch of questions, and then said, cool, and then put it back in the shelf and said, I'm going to go check Amazon or online to see if I can get it for cheaper. You're a bad person. Like, you just are. And I get you might not have the money. You're trying to get the best deal. I get there's all kinds of economic reasons for doing it. But you literally took advantage of free services. You took advantage of why the product is more expensive in real life in that gaming store. Got it for free and left. And that, if I was that retail store owner, there's nothing you can do about it. But the next time that person walked into my store and asked me a bunch of questions about a product, I'd be like, you should go ask Amazon. Like, I would have no more time for that person. That person would be dead to me. I would answer a single question. They could go look on Amazon. I'd be like, you got your phone? Look it up on Amazon. Like, the last time you're here, I talked to you for half an hour about the product, and then you said you're going to go look for it cheaper somewhere else, so fuck off. Like, Oh God, retail is the most thankless job ever sometimes. Yeah. Nick, thank you for putting that back in my head. Cause that is the most infuriating thing ever when someone takes advantage of like your expertise and advice for a long time and then says they're going to go try and look for it cheaper online. Rob Mazarita says, if Shatterpoint dials down the tokens, I may get into it. And then Eli says, the Eaton Center Games Workshop, cool. My cousin was much more active in the store, but I came in to play him for some pickup games with the staff. I just got back into the hobby again just prior to the pandemic. Thanks, Ash. That's amazing. The Eaton Center, the Games Workshop Toronto Eaton Center store was my second store I ever worked in. I worked there as just a regular employee. And it had some of like the most it was such a tiny store. And the worst part was it was next to the doors to the subway. And if you've ever tried to have any kind of space next to like where a train station, a subway train station is, you literally, the entire store every night would be covered in like this film of like gross gray dust. And it's just someone told me what it was once. It's diesel fumes and lung tissue, because we had tens of thousands of people walk by the store. So it was an incredibly active store. We probably showed more people Games Workshop stuff in that store than almost any other store I've ever worked in, because the foot traffic was just bonkers. One of the busiest parts of downtown Toronto. And it was like the subway station for that part of Toronto, and also into the busiest mall in downtown Toronto. But it was tiny. I think it turned into like a GNC like muscle supplement store after we moved out. But we had three little 4x4 gaming tables, and they were packed every Tuesday night and Thursday night. Tuesday night was fantasy night. Thursday night was 40K night, and they were always packed. And we did versus staff. If you couldn't get a game, you played the staff member. We did Saturday and Sunday mornings. We did like your first game, and that's probably what Eli's talking about. Was if you came in for painting classes and we helped you like get your first army done, we'd help you write a 1,000-point army list for like 40K or for fantasy. We'd sit down and do painting classes with you at this it was like this 4-seat like McDonald's style circular seater in like bright red wire mesh. It was so uncomfortable. And then on Saturday mornings you'd play the staff for like your first game, just to like not throw you in the Shark Tank with our insanely competitive regulars. And I probably taught like a good 150 kids how to play a GW game that way while I was there. So I'm glad that worked, Eli. I'm glad that you got into the hobby that way, because that's really rewarding for me to hear, because that store closed in 2010. I'm pretty sure 2009, 2010. It closed a long time ago. No, 2008 actually. 2008 that store closed, and it was there for a very long time. It was there for 10 years. So it was there from 1998 until 2008. Game Master Hobby says, hello Ash, I would love to hear your thoughts on the Elder Scrolls Cold Arms game, the good, the bad, and your wish list. Thanks for all your awesome videos. So the good, it has a great AI system. The bad, the AI system's kind of complicated, right? It's very like stuff intensive with all the cards and stuff like that. Has a great has models from the entire game. So if you just want to play an Elder Scrolls game, it's fantastic. The bad, I wish a lot of that stuff was just a book and not cards. So much stuff that Modifius does, they do like it's a board game with tokens and cards, where I feel like a big hardcover book with just charts would be easier. I really wish the Fallout Total Warfare game was just a big hardcover book like This Is Not a Test. I feel like Joey got it right with a single product that doesn't spread out over your table all over the place. And I feel the same way about Elder Scrolls. I just wish there's a lot less stuff in Elder Scrolls than there is in Wasteland Warfare. But you don't need the card decks. You could just have tables and dice instead. And I think that would just give the game more longevity, because you could just publish a little zine that has different delves in it, and I feel like you would get more models sold that way. The rules should be a thing that encourage you to buy the miniatures. The miniatures coming with like little decks of cards and like splashes of add-on stuff that you mix in. It's just more, it's things you can lose and not keep track of, and you don't really understand the value of until you actually play the game. So yeah, so great models, really good rule system, actually super fun to play. But my same sort of criticism that I have of like, you have 50 things to basically solve the problem of like a page in a book. I don't want 50 individual little items where I could just have a page in a book and a resolution system that's in there that's random instead. Or like Joe does it with Rangers, where you just have one deck of 52 playing cards, you pull out the ones you need, and you shuffle those out. You could just have one deck of Elder Scrolls cards, and they say either treasure or trap on them. And then you just pre-construct a deck basically as the adventure tells you to, and then you have a table of what all those cards represent. So you don't have to have an individual card for like the Dragon Key. Like, there's just a smarter way of doing it where there's not so much knock-on stuff. And then Snickery Schnack says, I painted out my Votan to use as Veteran Guard and Kill Team. That's smart. Ultramenta says, I went to a Star Wars Legion tournament yesterday. I understand where you're coming from with tokens and stuff. I love Legion, and Shadowpoint looks cool. I hope Legion just isn't sacrificed for it. I'd play both, personally. I mean, they made a full-on statement saying that this wasn't going to stop people from playing, or them from making Legion stuff. So I think anyone who's like, this is going to detract from Legion, you're speaking anecdotally from your experience that you feel like somebody else getting something takes the shine off what you have, or you're hypothesizing that's going to happen. You don't actually know. So they've said it's not going to. I hope it doesn't. Time will tell. But worrying about it just takes the enjoyment off the thing that you should be enjoying. So just enjoy the thing that you like. This mic's too good, so I need to like drink away from it so that you guys don't have to listen to me drink. Chase says I need to live closer. And then Greg says, I first met Ash at the Eaton Center back in the early 2000s. You absolutely did, Greg. My favorite was in the 90s. Yes, you did meet me in the 90s. My favorite is one time, Greg, he came, I think, Greg, there was like a year where you didn't come into a store. You came in like the late 90s and you met me. And then you came in like 2002 or 2003, maybe because your office had moved or something. But I vividly remember you when you walked in and it looked like you were surprised I was still there. And you said, hey, Ash, still whoring for Games Workshop, I see. And I think of that almost every time I see you, because it actually like backfooted me for a second, but I feel like I rallied really well and just like blew past it, and that was the moment where you actually began to respect me, because I just took that and like dove in and asked you how you were doing anyway. That's one of my favorite Greg moments of all time. I met you like 3 times, and it made me laugh so much when I think about it. Jeff Hoffman says, I'm really excited for Shadowpoint. Everything they've shown looks fun. Made me think that, yes, that you're excited because your Clone Wars was a big thing for you. And yeah, they're doing a bunch of Clone Wars stuff. Rob he says, doing a Saturday morning stream on Sunday like a Chad. Yeah, well, sometimes Saturday morning gets eaten up by other things. And then Sunday becomes, when you have kids, Sunday morning streams happen, or Saturday morning streams happen on Sunday. Gary Arkham says, would you be interested in building an old Hammer army, greens, bases, and all that jazz? Yeah. I have a pile of stuff that I've been meaning to get to old Hammer wise. And one of the things that Christian and I were talking about doing was, because we did the 1st and 2nd edition 40K projects last year, coming on to January, usually things are pretty quiet in the Wargaming world, and I get to do like a Just For Me project. But going back and doing like a 5th and 6th edition Warhammer Fantasy, like a retrospective through Fantasy as well. So I think it'll be fun. Brian Sheen says, when's the first AshCon happening? Well, I did just book a hall for an Infinity tournament in January. We're going to try it out first. And then Greg says, if someone would stop taking vacations at the same time I do, I could make it at the studio. Sorry, I did take a vacation this summer at the same time as you, Greg, and I apologize. We need to sync our schedules up better. John Ashley Smith says, I've been painting a lot of Battletech lately. I'm feeling the pull of epic 40k armies that need work. Yes, I'm painting a lot of Battletech too. Great Chief says, when you're used to painting Infinity models, Games Workshop models suddenly don't seem as intimidating. I felt that way because I just painted like 2 Infinity armies back to back, and then painting those Lord of the Rings models, I was like, it was just super relaxing. Pointy-eared bow twanger says, thanks for your Osgiliath video yesterday. Got me looking at Lord of the Rings again. Found one of the last Pelennor Fields boxes in my local game store. It feels good to be excited by the game after 20 years out. Absolutely. It's a great game. The Canadian Barbarian, morning Ash from Hannah, Alberta. Love your content. Thank you, and I hope you guys are staying warm out there. We just got our first big snow in Ontario, and when Owen was getting married and it was still like 25 degrees Celsius here, there was snow back in Calgary where he was, so I assume you are buried under snow right now. Paul's Paint Shed. My mate owned a friendly local game store and used to get people to come and take photos of game boxes to send for friends so they could buy them elsewhere. Isn't that just mental? The stones on that person. Andrew Cook, the business owner should charge for the advice and give a coupon to use at the store for that sort of person. Yeah, for sure. And then John Ashley Smith says, if I can't buy retail, I don't buy it. So here's the thing is, I'm definitely not slagging on anybody that buys at a discount online. There are tons of people that don't even have a local game store. It's not about that. It's not about where you buy. It's that if you take advantage of the expertise of a local game store owner, then you should respect that had value, right? And not disrespect that person. And definitely don't tell them you're going to go look for it online. Even if you go do that, that's okay. You're allowed to do that. But vocalizing that's just a dick move. Find some little thing to be like, okay, well, I'm going to think about this one, but I'm going to buy some paints and primer today because they're right here and I want to get them. There's definitely a better way to handle what you just did, is what I'm really saying. And that local game store owner is absolutely within their rights to be incensed. And then Jim Kerman says, I buy most of my GW stuff from my friendly local game store to support them. They're really good guys. And I like to support the local gaming. Definitely more expensive, but pay it forward. Yeah, and if you play there too, if you play on their gaming tables, there's an old saying, pay where you play. Like, you're effectively paying to have opponents, to have terrain, to have a game store. Like, think about what the cost would be to have that yourself, to be open, to have like a neutral meeting zone. So you don't have to invite strangers into your house sometimes to meet new gamers and stuff. Like, if you can't see how that has value, I don't know what to tell you. I don't understand why someone thinks that doesn't have value. Brad Lever says it's amazing when it goes the other way too, though when you get someone excited and they go ham and you're generally excited for the new project. Absolutely. Yes, that is the best feeling ever, when someone gets excited for like a new thing and you can feel that energy like vibrating. John Ashley Smith says, I appreciate having a local brick and mortar location to visit, and where I meet live humans. It's fraught with peril, but I live dangerously. I was seriously bummed for months when Bayshore Hobbies closed down after 20 odd years. Yeah, Bayshore Hobbies was legendary. Jim Kerman says, have you considered any solo rules or scenarios for Steel Rift? I have. They're cooking, but I have a bunch of things I want. So because I'm trying to support, so one of the things you need to realize for Steel Rift is I'm trying to support Austin by writing rules that complement what he's making, right? So when you're in a relationship like this, where I'm doing the rules, he's doing the miniatures, he has a way bigger risk in this thing than I do, right? I'm writing words on a page. It costs me nothing to produce that except for my time, which obviously has a cost and is valuable to me. But I want to do things in a way that helps him to build a miniature range that you guys really like, because I think Steel Rift is really exciting, not because of my rules particularly, but because Austin's made some incredible miniatures for it. And I'm going to make a little announcement at the end of this video about that too, for next week, because there's some stuff happening for Steel Rift that I want to talk about. And we've got 8 minutes left, so I should probably start wrapping that up too. But yes, it's cooking, but I have like a list of things I want to do in a certain order to try and support him. Mike Egan says, hey, Ash, just wanted to say I love all your videos and content. I hate you because I want to play all the games. Yes, it's true that I do get to do that, and that is a absolute luxury of mine, doing this kind of for a Legion. Or not Legion, for a, I read the word Legion while I was saying it, for a job. Sneering Brit says, hey, Ash, what are your overall thoughts on the new Horus Heresy edition? I'm having a blast with my Bitter Boys of the 10th Legion. Me too. I think the problem was that, like, it was I think I said this in the last stream. I'm so excited for Heresy. I built a big Heresy army, but I built it before everybody else who'd either gotten rid of their Heresy armies or were starting Heresy armies had theirs done. And then during the time it took for those people to finish their armies, they kind of lost momentum because Games Workshop paved over it with like a bunch of really cool new releases too. So the diehard Heresy folks are still planning on coming in when their 2,000 point army is done in like 4 more months, right? But it doesn't really make for like quick release of content because it's a big game to get painted and you want to present it like finished and like fully done. So very excited, but it just takes a while. Nino says, hey Ash, no more Warhammer Fantasy. I mean, it still exists. We were just talking about doing a retrospective, me and Chris doing some old Hammer Fantasy. Nick says, do I think Titanicus is done? No, I don't think so. I think the big thing for Titanicus is when Siege of Terra comes out, they will start supporting Titanicus again with like the freaky weird Chaos Titans. So like once you get to like the Siege of Terra, that's where like some of the Titan Legions have like full on turned into like Banelord Titans. Like the Siege of Terra opens the door for like when Chaos Titans get really chaosy. And I think that's like the next wave of that, but they're trying to line that up, I think, with the books coming out, finishing off the storyline, and also where like Horus Heresy's at the same time too. So I think Horus Heresy catching up to where Titanicus is, and then when it starts to get crazy chaosy towards the end as the books come out, all that stuff can start coming out in conjunction. You'll see like a release for Horus Heresy, a release for Titanicus, like side by side, shoulder by shoulder. And then random question, do you think GW will release the Into the Dark and Shadowfall books separately? Of course they will. Yeah. They've done it for all of the Kill Team and Warcry books so far. Like the box is a splash, and then eventually when those Kill Teams come out, you get the books separately too. Great Chief says, I just got my Infinity Operation Black Wind yesterday. Great box. Lonely Brick says, with scale creep happening across many games, like Conquest, MCP, and Shatterpoint, what do you think about Inquisitor 54 mil when looking back now? I think it was just too big a jump too quick. Like going to like 40 millimeter miniatures, you can kind of still just get away with all your 28 mil. Like buildings and cars, you can't tell me that you can't still put a 28 mil model next to an MCP card. It kind of still looks okay. Like it's not too far off that it's too crazy. Some of my more slight miniatures, like my my stuff for my Castle Free stuff, might look a little bit small, but it's not too small. Like it's not crazy small so that it looks totally, beyond the pale small. Whereas 54 mil is double the height. All of the stuff looked out of scale. So yeah, I think what we're talking about is we're just talking about they jumped too far too fast scale wise. John Ashley Smith again says, I'm decaling some second edition Marines as I listen to this. Usually try decaling, but this is pretty good. That's sweet. And Jez Hunt says, the law is you go into a game shop, you buy, or you get shot out of a trebuchet to a zoo. Greg says, for the record, I always respected Ash. He's always been a great painter and gamer. I had standing bid to buy his Raven Guard army back in the day. Do you still have that army? I do still have my second edition Raven Guard army, and it's still kicking around in crates somewhere in the studio. I know you always respected me. I'm just recounting an anecdote that was one of my favorite Greg stories. Donald Kelly says, question, what do you get someone who likes to kit bash sci-fi vehicles for 40K, like fancy bits? Yeah, there's a great bunch. I think Cromlech makes like vehicle accessories. There's a couple of like UK resin manufacturers that do like really cool random accessories for 40K vehicles. They do a lot of orc stuff. Cromlech, there's another one too. Maybe Cybor. I don't know if they keep them in the range all the time, but there's a few, like just Google like 40K resin parts and see what comes up. But there's a few online retailers. You can get them out. You can even just get them like a gift card for those websites that do like cool vehicle bits for like sci-fi vehicles. Oh no, 3 minutes left. Mark says Steel Rift miniatures are really well done. Yes, they are. I'm really excited about them, and they are super modular. Christian White says, I lost respect for my local Warhammer store manager in Scotland. He blindly tried to defend GW's handling of Cursed City. I mean, if you go into the manufacturer's store and don't expect that the guy that works there is going to defend the product he has to sell in front of customers, I mean, what were you expecting? Go buy that guy a beer and see what he says. Like, you don't lose respect for a guy who's standing around being paid, respecting his employer while he's being paid. I get that you didn't like it, and maybe this is an unpopular answer, but yeah, if he's a store manager and his staff are standing there, do you want him to be a hypocrite? And after he told all his staff, this is how you handle it somewhere differently for himself. I think you just put him in an awkward spot, to be honest with you. Like, if you wanted a different answer, ask him in a different scenario and maybe you'll get one. But when someone's at work being paid to be there, having a thing they're supposed to say, then they're probably going to say it. So being disappointed in that guy, I think is just maybe kind of a bit unfair to him. Not that I'm saying it's good or bad. I'm just saying ask him a different setting and see what he says. And maybe you'll get some respect back. But, yeah. Stin Callan says, sorry about my mic, It's not always easy to find someone in a local store, and buying online is the only option. Can't buy Battletech here, but going to a local store and saying to buy it online just goes too far. Yeah, for sure. And that was the point I'm making, right? I'm not saying either of those two things is wrong. It's like getting the help and then telling the guy you're not going to buy it from him. That's the line. Jeff Hoffman says, Steel Rift is both a great game and a great line of minis. I picked up the stuff at Nova for a few of my friends, and we're actually about to start playing. That's exciting. Katie Stan says, there's been an interesting trend among my local friendly game stores raising prices above MSRP. I'm not sure how I feel about it. I mean, if you can't afford to not do that, then that's it. Like, so guess how much a gallon of Tide laundry detergent costs in Nunavut, which is a northernmost territory here in Canada. So a gallon of Tide that I can go down to the Walmart and buy for, I don't know, it's probably like $9.99 or maybe $10.99 Canadian, costs $57.99 Canadian. Not a different currency, same country, only difference is it's in Nunavut where they're going to put it on an airplane and fly it there. A cucumber that costs me 99 cents here costs $7.99 in Nunavut. Is it right? Nope, but the circumstances of that store selling stuff in Nunavut are very different than the circumstances of another store down the street. So sometimes stuff costs more than MSRP. And that's the way it is. And when you live there, that sucks, especially when it's a staple like laundry detergent and food. But when it's a luxury good and they got to get it to the place where it's being sold, or maybe the place where it's being sold has an outrageous rent, like, I don't know how anybody could sell things at a discount in Manhattan, right? The Manhattan retail store is going to sell things at full price plus. In fact, if you go buy a MacBook Pro, probably at the Flag Mac store in Manhattan, it's probably going to cost you not what it would cost you at, the Black Friday sale at Best Buy down the street. Is Best Buy still around in the States anyway? Best Buy's around in Canada still. I think the Canadian Best Buy is stuck around. I don't know if the US ones did. But I get what I'm saying. It's just the market. Sometimes people have to charge more than what something is manufacturer recommended sales price. John Ashley Smith says, you're an inspiration to me, Ash. I set a goal of 100 miniatures per year because of your example. A few years I actually met the goal and exceeded it. Keep up the awesome work. Thank you so much. Oh my God, we're well over an hour. Crap. Okay. Oh, good. I got to the end. Yay. Am I harp for Warhammer the Old World? Yeah, sure. But I still play Warhammer when I can. Any idea when you've lined up for the next issue of Blaster Mag? Nope, I don't. And then can you quickly recap what you talked about in the stream before you close? I missed most of it. I mean, it'll be online in like 10 minutes after I end the stream, right? So you can just go back to the beginning if you want. But basically I covered middle of strategy battle game and what else I was working on this week. The games I played, Bot Wars, and some stuff for Forbidden Psalm. And then took a bunch of questions about a bunch of different things. And then Paul's Paint Shed says, Zinge Industries in the UK do loads of bits for vehicles. Sweet. Well, there you go. Loads of bits for vehicles from Zinge Industries. Zinge Industries. So go look them up. I don't know anything about them. But apparently they do 40K vehicle bits. So I hope that answers your question. So the last bit about Steel Rift, and this is a fun announcement that I'll make right now, is if you were thinking about grabbing any miniatures for Steel Rift, Austin is doing a Black Friday sale on miniatures. So I believe it's a buy 3, get the cheapest one free sale for Black Friday on Steel Rift stuff. So you can definitely go check that out if you wanted to get some more stuff to pilot your starter set for Steel Rift. Or if you want to get some of the Solar Shift minis, there's a lot of really cool mechs that aren't necessarily in the Steel Rift bundles, but could be used in any faction. In Solar Shift, he is doing a Black Friday sale, and you guys can check that out next week. So I'm excited about that because I think that the miniatures are the best part of Steel Rift, but that's me saying that because, I wish it was I wish it was true that the rules were the best, but I don't think I don't have that in me. That's okay, Crafting Troll. It's about to end. You can watch the episode tomorrow or later on. And so go check out the Black Friday sale from Austin if you're looking to get some cool 6mm mech models for Steel Rift or for any other games that you want to play. And that's it for me. So we are going to be back next week, hopefully on an actual Saturday, maybe on a Sunday again. We'll keep it real for another This Week in Wargaming. Till next time, I'm Ash. Happy Wargaming.